Okay, so we're back for part two of our project, our comic project. There's a couple things that Marty did in his tutorial that you could do to yours. The first one doesn't really work too well for this image, but what Marty did was he added little highlights to the eyes. Now, I'm a little too far away from this, but if you have a closer picture of something, he did that, and I'll just illustrate how he did it, and then you guys could decide whether you want to do it or not. How he did that was he had made a new layer. So I'm going to click on the top layer, and I'm going to click on the new layer icon, which is the folded over piece of paper. And you only do this if you really have a place for it. And he used a selection tool and all this stuff, but you could just use a brush. And if you make your color white, so I'm going to switch these to, I'm going to switch my foreground color to white in the toolbox. And to do that, I just clicked on this little swap button here. This will swap the colors. And, he used a hard brush, so, 100 pixels. And to create the highlight, all he did, and I'll zoom in a little bit, and I'll put it right on my head. All he did was he just clicked a little dot like that. So you can imagine if this was like an eyeball and you want to like kind of accentuate the glare in your eye to make it more cartoony, you could do that by clicking around. It looks a little silly on my head, so I'll get rid of that. So that's something you do, and make sure you do that on your own layer. And if you want to label that glare or whatever, you could totally do that. The other thing Marty did was he made a border. Now, in Marty's video, he actually used one of the pictures, but I had a hard time doing that, so I had to develop a little workaround for that. So if you make a new layer, so I'm going to click on a new layer icon. I'll ignore my eye layer here, and there's a brand new layer, and I'm just going to fill it. And you can fill it with any color. I'll just switch this back to black, but you can fill it with any color because it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to go to fill this. I'm just going to go to the edit dropdown. So the Photopea edit dropdown, and you're going to go to fill dot dot dot, and then you're going to just click OK. It's filled. Boom. All right, now we just covered up our entire picture, but we're going to be making a border out of this layer. So this is going to end up being our border layer, and we need to fill it for this to work. So I filled the layer, and then I'm going to go to layer effects. So you can either go to the EFF button down here for effects, or if you just double click in the open space next to layer 2, you can get to your effects, which we've done 1,000 times. We're going to put a stroke on this. So I'm going to select stroke. The position is going to be inside. And when you do that, you should be able to see the stroke around the outside of your object. You can make this whatever color you want. And I'm just going to make this, I don't know, 10 to 12 pixels. Maybe a little more if you want. I'll leave that up to you. I mean, our resolution's 150. So, if you go up to like 75, you got like a half-inch stroke around your picture already. So, I'll probably keep it less than 20. Whatever. That's up to you. And he did actually a double border, and he used inner glow to do that. So after I click on stroke, I'm going to go to inner glow. And the first thing I'm going to do is change the blend mode from screen, because screen's one of those that allows you to see through it, and that's why the glow would work so well. But we're going to trick it into making a second stroke. So I'm going to put this on normal. And so the blend mode is now normal. Remember, we have to click on the word inner glow, blend mode normal. Opacity is going to be 100 because we want this to be completely opaque. We'll leave noise at 0, and we'll make the color. This time I'll use white. And click OK at the bottom. Now this is where we can make the stroke come out. So if I increase the spread, and the size, we should be able to start to see this come out from the edge of the picture. The closer the larger the spread is, so I'm going to go 100% on the spread, the harder the edge of the spread becomes, and the more like a stroke it will become. And as long as my size is a little bit bigger, then what we used for the stroke, it'll pop out from underneath. If this is too small, you won't see it. So right now the size is 9. The stroke was, I don't know, 19 or 18. It's not coming out until I hit 19 or 18. So I'm going to put this in the 20 somewhere, and then I'm going to click OK, and now I have my double stroke around this. Now, how do we get this? It almost looks like Time Magazine's front cover, but we're going to now allow ourselves to see through this. So if I stay in the effects window, I closed out just to show you guys, but if you're still in the effects window, you can stay there. Or I'm going to double click back in on this. And now I'm going to go to where it says blending options at the top here. You want to click right on the word blending options. And this controls a lot of stuff for the layer, including our normal opacity. But we're going to change something called the fill opacity. The fill opacity is only going to make the black transparent, and it's going to leave any effects out and not transparent. So it only gets rid of the actual pixel information that was on the layer that's not effects, which is kind of cool. So that's fill at 0. So that was under blending options in the layer style window, fill 0 for that layer, and click OK. So that was the top layer. You see it's a black layer. It has effects on it, but we made the fill opacity 0. Regular opacity is at 100. Okay, so that was a cool move there.